What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Frankiehardworkshow with another video. And before I go into this video, I just want to let y'all know I got my email or my Instagram account. You can DM me or email me. If you want to do some type of promotion for your business or some type of brand you're trying to do or whatever, we can work out some price or even music or whatever. Just holler at your boy through my email or just DM me. And also like, comment, subscribe too. I appreciate that. So yeah, this story I'm about to read, it's a story I was reading about. It was about Nipsey Hussle, and was Nipsey Hussle business empire endangering the community or empowering it? So they was pretty much saying about the rapper Nipsey Hussle died with a dream for his South Los Angeles neighborhood. The strip mall he owned, where he was gunned down in March, would be raised, and an apartment tower and retail complex were raised in its place, anchored by his Marathon clothing store. All of this part was of Nipsey Hussle's promise to the area that raised him at the time of his sweeping change across the city. Keep the neighborhood in the hands of the neighborhood. Our biggest thing was for us, quote, purchasing property and using our influence in keeping business in the hood, in the epic center of where the gentrification is happening, said Jorge Penicky, who was a partner with Hussle and his record label, All In Money. Now that Hussle, whose real name was Ernest Ashadon, is gone, moving forward has fallen to his main business partner, David Gross, a Los Angeles businessman. I know y'all been hearing a lot about him lately. But those plans have been complicated by revelations of a long-standing investigation into gang activity at the property by the Los Angeles Police Department and the city attorney's office. Hussle, a one-time member of the Rolling 60 Crip street gang, had been working with the city to quell gang violence. Still, the city considered his property as a stronghold of the gang and has demanded Mr. Gross to take measure to stop the crime it said has occurred there over years. According to letters between city officials and the owner of the property obtained by the New York Times. In the month after Hussle's killing, police officers on the street saw a rise in criminal activity at the property, including a second killing, a stabbing on June 16th, a robbery at gunpoint, and the roughing up of tourists who had stopped by to pay respects to Hussle, according to law enforcement official with the investigation who declined to be named. Deep. Hussle's story has exposed deep divisions within the city's leadership, underscored by the reaction after his death, with city officials praising the rapper as a model for the neighborhood, even as he was under investigation. You remember I made a story about that. The case has also divided the investigators themselves. For instance, Hussle killings and the aftermath emboldened prosecutors and the city officials and the city attorney office to push forward. Pardon me, y'all. And they prepared civil litigations against Mr. Gross, seeking to force him to take steps to improve safety at the property. Such litigation is one tool the city efforts to combat gangs. But the police chief, Michael Moore, withheld his support for that approach out of concern that such a move could cause anger residents of South Los Angeles, according to the law enforcement officials briefed on the matter. That effectively stalled the investigation. The police instead decided to negotiate directly with Mr. Gross, who they met with earlier. They insisted that he hire armed guards and install security cameras accessible to the police, and Mr. Gross resisted taking steps out of fear that members of the Rolling 60s would consider him an agent of the police, according to correspondence between the police and the city attorney obtained by the Times. A spokesman for the city's attorney office declined to comment. Josh Rubenstein, a spokesman for the police department, said, "We are continuing our work with the property owner in a productive manner to ensure the safety of the community and the safety of that neighborhood." I wonder who they talking to. So they talking about David Gross? That's weird that they having a lot of conversations with David Gross like that. About 6 weeks ago, before Hussle was killed, the city attorney office sent a letter dated February 13 to Mr. Gross listing a number of crimes it had been documented at the property, which it was said that was a hub for the rolling 60s Crips. Quote, "The property is known as a hangout for the rolling 60s criminal street gang," end quote, the letter said, "and has been in sight of many violent / or unlawful incidents, including, without limitations, attempted murder, shooting, robberies, batteries, and unlawful firearm detentions," end quote. Mr. Gross did not meet with the city authorities until after Hussle was killed in the strip mall parking lot late March. In a letter early July, Mr. Moore, the police chief, wrote to Mr. Gross that the strip mall, quote, "has been a location of concern due to the amount of criminal activity occurring. Multiple calls for police service involving assault, batteries, shootings has been generated at the location," end quote. The police have said Hussle's killing was the result of a personal dispute, not a feud between gangs. The man charged with the killing of Hussle's Eric Holder is also alleged to be a rolling 60s member. As an eyewitness, he shot Hussle after a discussion, which Hussle told Mr. Holder that there was concern he was a snitch. Shortly before he died, Hussle and Mr. Gross stood in front of the Marathon store closing for a scene of a documentary they were making, promoting their plans to leverage a provision of the president's signature tax cut to help finance series of investments in Crenshaw District and the economically struggling neighborhoods across the country. I made a video about that. Y'all should go see it. It's called Nipsey Hussle Tried to Beat Gentrification. Check it out. I'm going to put it across the screen. Before his death, Hussle and Mr. Gross were preparing to start a fund to invest in the so-called Opportunity Zone creation of 2017 tax overhaul. The zones designated by state officials and blessed by the Treasury Department and scattered across urban, suburban, and rural areas that the government considers distressed in every state. By the investigation of real estate or certain business in those zones, investors can realize potentially lucrative reductions in federal capital gains taxes. Yeah, this definitely can be a way to start gentrification. But I felt like Nips was doing something different and flipping it. I made a story about this. Go check it out. The fund is called Our Opportunity. Is still trying to pull together. The fund is called Our Opportunity. It's still trying to pull together investors, including the rapper T.I. and the radio host Charlamagne the God, to use zone provisions to develop real estate in South Los Angeles. They also hope to replicate the startup incubator and co-working the space of Vector 90, a sort WeWork for urban African American communities that Mr. Gross and Hussle opened up in Crenshaw last year in several cities and in several additional cities. Oh wow, I didn't know they had it across different cities. The original Vector 90 sprawls over 2 stories of brick and exposed wood beams with Hussle raps lyric rising up to central staircase. It reopened in June after it was closed in the wake of Hussle shooting. Quote, "The Opportunity Zone legislation just kind of turbocharged their expansion plans," Mr. Gross said in an interview in the spring. My bad, y'all. Quote, "We're going to create this intellectual, cultural anchor in the community," end quote. Mr. Gross did not respond to requests for the comment for this article. It's unclear what happens now, either with the investigation or Hussle's efforts to use local investments to head off the forces of gentrification. Quote, "We've seen this play out in other areas of Los Angeles," end quote. Mr. Pinnicky, the partner in Hussle record label, referring to gentrification. Quote, "And we see there's very remnants of the original people who live here," end quote. And that's the end of the article. So in that article, it seemed like a reoccurring thing. And the reoccurring thing with me was Mr. Gross. And I didn't know that he had that much like power in that. Like for him, because it seemed like they was going back and forth with him, not Nipsey, not Black Sam, not nobody else. It seemed like they was going back and forth with him. And that was kind of like strange and telling at the same time. So now that leads me to think about this property situation, because like I said, they building, if y'all remember, I said in that story, the gentrification, Nipsey trying to beat gentrification. You can see that I made it a couple months ago, actually. I pretty much was saying that they building up a Rams stadium over there. They're building a Rams stadium over there. So that property in that area is worth a lot of money. So I wonder if the dude, being that he got so much hold over this, like, and they shut the store down, even though they running it online and stuff like that, I wonder, is he going to give in? I hope he don't give in. I hope David Gross don't give in. I hope that he do something with that store and that property, because if he sell that property right there, it's a wrap. Like his legacy is gone. That's pretty much. So I wonder how that's gonna work out like that. Like, and then I didn't, like I said, I didn't know that David Gross had that much power in that property and stuff like that. I really didn't know that. So now, that got me thinking, and I wonder how you feel about that, because it is strange though. And, I don't know. Like I said, Mr. Gross, but the dude David Gross, he been sitting back, he been cooling, he been in the cut, he ain't been saying too much, he ain't been doing too much. And then he was responding to them before that, so I don't know. It's just something strange about that. Like, I can't really put my finger on that, but I want to hear what y'all got to think about this. How y'all feel about this? Is it strange that they really was like going back and forth with David Gross instead of Nipsey or Black Sam or something like that? Like, just let me know how you feel about that. But it's your boy Frankiehardworkshow. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know how you feel about this. Be easy.